Okay, the question is, how should my wife and I go about talking about finances with friends that don't seem to be doing very well with finances? What do you think about that?
Oh, this one's hard, bro. Because listen, look, I'm a financial mutant, but you've got to be careful because nobody wants to feel preached to. Look, I'm just going to tell you, you're going to see this your whole life. I don't know how old Thomas is and their spouse, but you're going to see lots of bad decisions around you. And you kind of just had to grin and bear it. And I think out of a place of love, if you're trying to improve the life, I mean, Bo and I both did this. So this is actually well-worn. I bought I bought Wealthy Barber for every one of my friends. Yep. And I'm hopeful that Millionaire Mission becomes that for a lot of people. Now, I'll leave it to you, Bo. How do you give this? One thing to give it to a college graduate. Yeah. It's another thing maybe even as a wedding present. But what do you do if it's just a couple that you're close with and maybe you travel with? How do you do that?
Well, that's what I was going to say. I think the very first thing you have to do is you have to assess the relationship. Because I know for me and my wife, we have friend relationships where I can see the other couple making a decision and I'll look and be like, hey, you're a knucklehead. What are you doing? Like that's not wise. You just got a new car last year. Why'd you get this new car right now? And we have a relationship where we can talk that way. We have other friends where we might see that same sort of behavior and we'll have a wonderful dinner and we'll have a wonderful evening. And then as my wife and I are leaving, we'll just say, bless their heart, right? Like that's all you can say. So what you want to be careful of is don't impose your views and your thoughts and your ideals on them unless you have a relationship where that kind of conversation is warranted. Now, if that kind of conversation is warranted and you want to figure out how you can begin having that, what I have found is difficult conversations are most often I am most often able to have difficult conversations through the Socratic method, right? So I'll use my example of the new car. Hey, Brian, I love the new car. Y'all got a new car last year. What happened with that one? Oh, no. Hey, well, I was listening to this Money Guy show the other day. I don't know if you heard of them, moneyguy.com. They're amazing. And they said that like in the first 4 years that you own a car, something like 60% of the value of that car
appreciates. You're not getting invited back over.
I can
just go ahead and tell you that is.
I get what you're saying though. Can
you imagine?
If you have that kind of relationship, it has to be conversational.
Bo's gonna be in the cul-de-sac. Every neighborhood and every neighbor is gonna be grilling out hot dogs at this one neighbor's house, and all of a sudden Bo's not gonna be there, and he's going, "What happened? I wonder what went wrong." And they're like, "Remember that jerk in the new car?"
But that's why you can never have these conversations.
That's what I'm saying.
And I don't think that's true.
You got to kind of know where those conversations can be had and where those conversations can't be had. I'm saying on the ones where they can, you don't want to lead with, hey, dummy, why'd you get that car? It's more asking, oh, hey, man, oh, okay, you're putting a pool in? That's amazing. Interest rates are so high right now.
How are you handling that?
Walk me through. And what you do is when you have people walk you through their decision-making process, it very quickly is uncovered that, oh, wow, there maybe wasn't a huge decision-making process. There wasn't like a checklist they went through to make sure that was. And then if you are financially educated, you can kind of speak into that again, out of a place of like respect and love and friendship and compassion, but also informative and truthful. I think that's the best way to approach that, as opposed to just being like, oh, you're obviously a bad decision maker.
I would encourage, here's another thing I've used in my own life is, now look, what I'd love to know is from our audience is because now it's getting harder for me to do this because, the show's gotten big enough, this whole book, doing so well. I think people are starting to think there's realized something there, but earlier in my life, I always tried to model, I eat my own cooking.
Sure.
Meaning I modeled the life, there was no hypocrisy on how I handled my own finances. And when you live your life differently and you're very principled in it, I have found in my life people would come and ask me questions because they're going to have a general curiosity when they can tell that you live your life differently, that you're actually very principled on how you save and invest. And then it starts getting to the point where, some of those elements spill over and your success is shown in different ways. They'll ask you questions and be prepared to have or look for those questions, but be careful about being preachy on it. Model the really good behavior And then, because I don't mind sharing. When you tell people you're a financial advisor, they immediately assume you're going to try to sell them a life insurance policy or something else like that. So that's not immediately when people would come to me and start talking. What I had found is like neighbors, we'd be sitting on the back porch watching a sporting event or, drinking our favorite adult beverage or something. And they'd say, hey, think about doing this home improvement, What are your thoughts on this? And then there's a way that things will just happen naturally that allows you to kind of share your mindset. And then that's probably going to create the access point or the opportunity to kind of open it up a little bit more. And it's just like I think of a former neighbor. He still tells me, because when I first met him, he was doing all these individual stocks. And one night when we were on his back porch, I was like, do you really think you're outperforming doing that? And he's like, oh, yeah. He's like, look at this, look at this one, and this one, and this one. And so then for like the next 3 years, I'd say, you realize the S&P 500 made this last year. And he'd be like, and I was like, did you go see what you made last year? And he's like, well, I made this on, he'd always name off 2 or 3 stocks. I made this on this stock. And I say, no, take them all. What did you make on all of your stocks? And then he called me because he's moved away now, but I think I've converted him. I think he does it. He still dabbles because I think those habits are hard to break once you love dabbling in those individual stocks. But he's like, I've pretty much realized the S&P's beating about everything that I've been picking. And I'm like, yeah, welcome to the party. So it's that's kind of model the behavior. They will notice you're different and they'll come to you. But that also look for opportunities to share resources. Money Guy Show, Millionaire Mission. Obviously, there's lots of other things. Those things will help in this journey as well.